The Persian Empire stretched from Central Asia to the Mediterranean, incorporating parts of Turkey, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Iran, Iraq, Syria, Palestine, and Egypt into one state. It lasted for over 9 centuries, saw the rise of Zoroastrianism, and inspired Alexander the Great. In fact, he even considered adopting Persian customs, which included the practice of burning the dead. At number 5, we have the fire temples of Yazd. For Zoroastrians, fire wasn't just a source of warmth, but also a manifestation of the divine wisdom they called Amisha Spens. So it's no surprise they built temples around it. Across Persia, there were many, but the best preserved is the remains of a fire temple in the city of Yazd. Built in the Sassanid period, roughly between 224 and 651 CE, it's an octagonal structure with beautiful blue tiles. There are 3 altars, each containing a perpetually burning flame, tended by priests. And archaeologists have found clay tablets detailing the rituals performed here. But there's a big question. Where did the Zoroastrians get their fire from? Because humans can't sustain fires forever. They have to be started with something else, and scholars have debated what exactly that could be for these temples. One theory is that the flames were eternal and had been passed down since the biblical days of Zoroaster himself. Another is that the flames were started with natural phenomena like lightning or volcanic vents. And then there's the most straightforward theory, that each morning a new fire was created by focusing sunlight through lenses. That way, they could claim that the fire was eternally new and also linked to the sun god Mithra. We don't know for sure, but the idea of a sacred flame burning brightly in the darkness is a powerful one. Now at number 4, we have the vanishing of Cyrus the Younger. Cyrus the Younger was the son of Darius II, who took the throne after murdering his brother, Artaxerxes. He ruled from 405 to 359 BCE, during the tumultuous years when Greece and Persia were fighting the Greco-Persian Wars. Cyrus's reign wasn't easy. He faced revolts by satraps and was criticized by Greek historians like Xenophon for burning Sardis to the ground and executing rebels like Histiaeus. But Cyrus managed to stay in power until his brother Artaxerxes II came along. When Darius died, Artaxerxes II seized the throne and Cyrus fled to Sardis. There he raised an army of 6,000 and set out to take back the empire. But on the march he stopped at the Cilician city of Tarsus, and according to Plutarch, this was a fatal mistake. See, there was a local festival going on, and Cyrus got caught up in the festivities. And when he woke up the next morning, half of his men were gone, either drunk or simply vanished. Now, we don't know if this story is true or if Plutarch was just making things up. But one thing's for certain, Cyrus never made it home. Either his army deserted him because of his poor leadership, or he was assassinated by his own general Parmenion, who switched sides and returned to Persepolis. We just don't know. At number 3, we have the stone circles of Persepolis. Persepolis was the ceremonial capital of the Achaemenid Empire, meaning that it was only used for official events like New Year's celebrations. The actual seat of government moved depending on where the king campaigned. It was founded by Darius I around 518 BCE and became the center of a massive religious complex. Persepolis is full of treasures. There are palaces with reliefs telling stories of Darius and his successors hunting, collecting tribute, waging war. And of course, there are those famous stone columns with capitals shaped like bulls' heads. But there's another structure that's caught the attention of archaeologists. 2 concentric rings of stones that may have served as a burial ground for royal servants. It's a strange feature because it looks nothing like the rest of the site. You can't tell what shape it is from the air, and on the ground, it doesn't have any obvious entrance. Archaeologists think that it might have been a circular maze, though there's no evidence of walls or pillars within the rings. Or it could have been a platform for a pyramid, but we've found no traces of masonry underneath. Even stranger, similar structures can be found at other sites across Iran and the Near East. They're usually paired with temples or sanctuaries and date to the same time period as Persepolis. So how were they used? We're not sure. Scholars have suggested that they could have been used for divination, since the center of a circle is often seen as a place of spiritual energy. They may have also been used for burials, with the body placed in the center and the outer ring marking the grave. But if so, where are the tombs now? We don't know. But one thing's for sure, this isn't your typical archaeological site. At number 2, we have the lost army of Cambyses. Cambyses II was the son of Cyrus the Great and the brother of the infamous Queen Tomyris. He came to power in 530 BC and quickly expanded the empire, conquering Lydia and much of Central Asia. But his next campaign ended in disaster. See, Cambyses wanted to conquer Egypt, so he sent his army south. But soon they were lost in the Libyan desert with no water and hostile tribes attacking them from all sides. Only a small band of survivors made it back to Persia, and many of them went insane, including Cambyses himself. According to Herodotus, he murdered his wife, ransacked the treasury, and stabbed a courtier to death after mistaking him for an enemy. Then he started to attack everyone around him, but eventually he drew the line. When his sister, Queen Tomyris, taunted him about his conquests, he put her in a bronze coffin and buried her alive. But in the end, it was Cambyses who ended up buried alive, accidentally, of course. On the way to Memphis, he fought against the Massilian tribe, who were known for their ferocity and skill in war, and Cambyses ended up losing his life. Whether he was killed in battle or by friendly fire, nobody knows. But what happened to his army is even more mysterious. Herodotus says that 100,000 troops died on the march, but some scholars think that number is exaggerated. Instead, they suggest that Cambyses' forces weren't wiped out, but simply assimilated into the Egyptian population. After all, soldiers deserting their commanders wasn't unheard of in ancient times, and what better way to disappear than by joining a foreign army? But we just don't know. And at number 1, we have the Zoroastrian Towers of Silence. The Zoroastrian Towers of Silence were funeral towers built in major cities throughout the Persian Empire. Their purpose was to protect the faithful from polluting the earth or water with the impurity of dead flesh. The Zoroastrian religion teaches that the physical world is sacred and should be kept pure for the Amesha spens to dwell in. So instead of burying or cremating their dead, Zoroastrians would expose their bodies to the elements, letting vultures and other scavengers consume the corpse. The towers were built with sloping sides so that vultures could easily fly in and out, and some of them had internal chambers to hold multiple bodies at once. But the most interesting part of the towers is why they were built in the first place. See? The Zoroastrian religion has its roots in the teachings of the prophet Zoroaster, who lived sometime before 500 BC. He preached a dualistic faith with one god, Ahura Mazda, and an evil spirit, Angra Mainyu. According to Zoroastrian tradition, the dead would spend 30 days in the realm of the righteous before being judged by the twins, good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. If they were weighed against evil thoughts, evil words, and evil deeds, they would go to heaven. But if they failed, they would descend to hell. So the exposure of the dead was a crucial step in their journey, allowing the soul to ascend to heaven without being corrupted by the evil spirit. But this practice didn't last forever. As the religion spread, the towers fell out of use, and eventually the tradition of sky burials was abandoned. Still, some towers survive to this day, like the ones in Tehran and Kerman, and they're a fascinating example of how religion can shape even the most mundane aspects of life. Empires rise with pride, but fall with secrets. The Persian Empire left behind riddles carved in stone and questions that may never be answered. Which mystery fascinated you most? Leave a comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more echoes of the past.